I sat alone in the expensive restaurant, the flickering candlelight casting soft shadows on the pristine white tablecloth. The empty chairs across from me felt heavier than they should have, as if they carried the weight of every broken promise my parents had ever made. I had called them multiple times, each unanswered ring chipping away at the fragile hope I had built up over the years. Tonight was supposed to be different. Tonight, I was going to surprise them with something special, something that symbolized my desperate attempt to mend the past. I had saved up my first big paycheck to book an all-expenses-paid cruise for just the three of us, a chance to reconnect, to finally have the family I had always dreamed of, but they never came. And when my father finally picked up after my 15th attempt, his voice was casual, almost indifferent. "Oh, just stop complaining. We got held up at the store picking out Jackson's birthday gift. Your mother forgot her credit card, so we had to drive back home and get it. But hey, we finally bought the perfect present. Jackson is going to love it. Have you bought anything for him yet? His birthday's in 2 weeks, you know." That was it. That was the moment I knew I had never and would never be a priority to them. Jackson had always been, and always would be, their golden child. I didn't say anything. I just hung up, paid for my untouched meal, and walked out. That night, something inside me broke. But to understand why, you need to hear the whole story. I was born only a year before my younger brother, Jackson. His arrival wasn't planned, but my parents had been happy about expanding their family, until they weren't. The moment they found out Jackson had a severe heart condition, everything changed. Doctors warned them he might not survive, that he would need multiple surgeries just to have a chance at life. My parents, overwhelmed with fear, guilt, and love for their unborn child, made a decision. Jackson came first. I was barely a toddler when they left me with my grandparents so they could dedicate every second to Jackson's survival. At first, I didn't mind. My grandparents were kind and loving. My grandmother made me pancakes every morning, and my grandfather took me to the park, reading me stories under the shade of old oak trees. But the visits from my parents became less frequent. Then, they stopped altogether. Months turned into years. What was supposed to be a temporary arrangement became permanent. I was no longer their child. I was a guest in their lives. Every weekend, I hoped they would come pick me up. Sometimes they did, but even then, all they talked about was Jackson. How brave he was, how strong he was, how much they loved him. They never once asked about my school, my friends, or how I was doing. The worst part? I didn't even hate Jackson. He was just a kid, like me. He didn't ask for this, but I couldn't ignore the fact that, to my parents, he was everything, and I was nothing. Then came the night that changed everything. Jackson's birthday. My parents threw him the biggest party, friends, family, neighbors. I stood in the corner, watching as they showered him with love and attention. I tried to be happy for him, but something inside me cracked. I burst into tears. In front of everyone, I still remember the way my mother's face twisted in embarrassment. My father's anger, the whispers from relatives who finally noticed that something wasn't right. That night, my grandparents fought with my parents. "Why isn't she living with you?" they demanded. "Why does she only visit while you raise Jackson?" But my parents were only angry that people had started asking questions. That was the night I made a decision. I was going home. Moving back in with my parents wasn't what I imagined. I thought they would be happy. I thought they would finally see me. But the house still revolved around Jackson. His needs, his schedule, his struggles. I was invisible. At school, I excelled. Straight A's, honor roll, awards. None of it mattered. My parents never showed up to my ceremonies, never praised my achievements. Meanwhile, Jackson barely passed his classes, got into trouble constantly, yet every tiny success of his was celebrated like he had cured cancer. When I got into college with a partial scholarship, I asked my parents if they had saved anything for my education. They laughed. "All our savings are for Jackson," my father said. "You're the oldest. You need to learn to take care of yourself." But my grandparents had seen this coming. They had secretly set up a trust fund for me. For the first time in my life, I felt seen, loved. When my parents found out, they were furious. Not because they had neglected me, but because Jackson didn't get anything. That was the moment I truly understood. I wasn't just neglected. I was an afterthought. Years later, after graduating, I got my first real job, a high-paying one. I wanted to do something special. For once, I wanted to believe that maybe, just maybe, things could be different. So I planned a surprise dinner. I booked a cruise for my parents and me. Just us. No distractions. A chance to rebuild something. But they never showed up, because Jackson's birthday gift was more important. When I walked out of that restaurant, I wasn't just walking away from a ruined dinner. I was walking away from them, for good. I blocked them. A few months later, I used the cruise tickets to take my grandmother instead. It was the best trip of my life. When my father found out, he messaged me on Facebook, calling me selfish for not inviting them. He said my mother was so hurt that I had blocked her. I laughed. The audacity. They were never hurt by neglecting me, but now that I was gone, they suddenly cared? No, I was done begging for scraps of love from people who never wanted me in the first place. Today, my life is peaceful. I have my grandmother. I have friends who love me. I have a job that fulfills me, and for the first time in my life, I am not invisible. Because family isn't just who you're born to, it's who chooses to love you. And I finally chose myself. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.